Dadhood. Modern Dadhood podcast.
Welcome back.
Adam, it's so good to see you again.
Oh, it was over the top. It was too much.
Too much?
It
You want
was
to try it
silly.
again?
Welcome back.
Adam, hi. It's great to be here again.
Yeah, you know what? It's always been nice to have you here, Mark. It's always just comfortable to be in the room with you.
That gives me such a fuzzy feeling, like a warm, fuzzy feeling deep inside.
I can't tell if you're being sincere or sarcastic or what.
That's exactly how I like it.
Modern Dadhood is an ongoing conversation about the joys, the challenges, and the general insanity of being a dad in this moment.
That's right. I'm Mark Checkett. I am a dad. I have twin boy toddlers. And you, Adam?
My name's Adam Flaherty, father of 2 daughters, 6 and 3.
What a wild ride.
I happen to know, because we're friends and I follow you on social media, that this past week something changed in your life.
That's right. It's been big. It's been a big change, big adjustment. My boys just started daycare.
That's tough. How did it go?
I paused so that you could put like an ominous, crazy sound, or maybe like a car crash sound or something.
Okay,
there.
well, here's your sound effect.
Wow, that was great.
I think it's perfect.
That's perfect.
So I'm guessing it was a bit emotionally challenging week.
Yeah, it's been a big adjustment. It's been a hard adjustment for all of us, basically. I'll give you like a little background. They were 21 months old when they started. I don't know if that's unique or not. I know some kids in the neighborhood, they go right away. You know, they're only a month or 2 old or something like that, maybe when some kids go.
Yeah, both my girls went into daycare as soon as my wife's maternity leave was up.
Okay,
so
yeah.
that was 12 weeks-ish.
Oh, wow. So I don't know. I suppose both situations present problems. For us, they were used to being at home all day, every day. We had a nanny. And beyond that, my wife works from home. So she was kind of ever present in their lives. So that made it, our situation is our situation. But for us, that made it really difficult.
I can imagine.
Yeah. It was a little nuts. We did like a trial run. We just went there for like an hour one day and just hung out.
It's a good thing to do. You get them used to the environment a little bit.
They
people
see the room, they see that there's other kids there having a good time, mostly.
trial run with the toys.
Exactly. Yeah, they immediately found toys that they were just like, put me down, I want to play with that. So that was good. That was a good sign. But man, day one drop off was, there were so many tears I could have swam out of there.
Childhood tears only?
Actually, childhood tears only. Yeah, both Jamie and I kind of held it together, but it definitely changed for me a couple of days in when they started to anticipate that we were going to go away. It's
like a dog that you have to take to the vet, and they know anytime anytime they're in the car and you take this particular right turn, they clamor up.
Yep. Their tail just tucks a little bit. The ears go down. The eyes get really big. Yeah. They're and that really tugs at the heartstrings when that kind of thing starts to happen. And I think it was day 3. There's a little routine. You get in the room, you take their coats off, you hang them up. They take their little water bottles and they got to go put them in the little water bottle bin across the room. So there's some activities to do right away to kind of divert their attention. And on day 3, we did those things. And one of my kids, he did the coat fine. He did the water bottle fine. I was like, oh man, this is great. He's already getting used to it. He's totally fine. So then I knelt down to get like his level. And I said, okay, all right, bud, I'm going to go. Got to go to work. I got to go to work. And you're going to stay here and play all day. I'm trying to be excited about it. And this look on his face, it went from like, everything's hunky dory to, oh, I remember this part. But it was so adorable because it looked to me anyway like he was trying to hold it together a little bit. Meanwhile, my wife is with the other boy who is losing his mind. He's just off the wall.
And sometimes when it's the seeing other people melting down that actually does it to you too.
Yeah, and I think my other son was kind of ignoring all of that until I got down on his level, which maybe that was a mistake. I don't know.
Reality check.
Yeah, maybe I was doing that more for me than I was for him. But the last thing we do is walk them over to the big window where they can see mommy and daddy drive away. And we get one more little wave, goodbye. And I'm holding his hand walking over there. And I look down at him and his lower lip was just like maximum pout. Oh. It was way out there. And it was, oh man, dude, I felt like this this like pang deep inside.
It hurts.
It really was painful. It was really painful. And I didn't experience that even when I left at 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just, I don't know, they were just little lumps back then. And now they're these like, they're formed human beings and they've got emotions and feelings and they can anticipate things. And it didn't fully destroy me, but it stayed with me that the rest of the day. Every time I shut my eyes, it was hard to pay attention at work that day.
It can really hurt. It can really hurt. My girls, like I said, have been going into daycare since they were very, very young. And I will tell you from a dad to a dad that it gets better. I think that routine is key, to distract them, get them thinking about what their routine and what they're supposed to be doing. But what I experienced with my girls is that they went through phases where it would be drop-offs would be super easy. And then for whatever reason, maybe it was we had a vacation or a long weekend and just enough home time for them to kind of reset. And then for several days, drop-offs would be really hard. And like there were times when my daughter, who's 6 now, didn't want to let go of me. She was holding on to me and I had to pry,
peel her off.
Have another person who I don't even know well, who I trust, but I don't know well, pry her off of me.
Yeah, we've definitely, there is power in that routine and we've seen that already in other aspects. And this transition is tough.
It is tough, but you will get through it.
I hope.
I promise. Do you trust me?
Do you trust me? I do. Thank you.
So dads, if you've listened to the episodes preceding this one, you know that each episode of Modern Dadhood sort of has a specific theme or topic. This one's structured a little bit differently as it's really more or less centered around our guest and his unique fatherhood experience.
Yeah, I'm really excited about today's episode, even though the format's going to be maybe just a little bit different. But our guest today is a pretty cool person. I think some of the dads out there might recognize him. He's been in a few films and some television shows that you might be familiar with.
Just a couple, though.
Just a couple. We got The Rocketeer.
Great movie.
Heaven's Gate.
I know you love that one.
He was in a bunch of episodes of X-Files.
My wife loves X-Files.
A film called Pin. Heard of it?
Love Pin.
Adam's a big fan of Pin.
Super uncomfortable in the best of ways.
He was actually in Old School as well. He was recently on the show Patriot on Amazon. He was on Star Trek back in the day, Next Generation. And there's one more show that I'm trying to remember. I just can't recall. I mean, it's just lost in my mind.
This is my destiny. I'm supposed to do this, damn it! Don't tell me what I can't do!
Oh, that's right, Adam. Lost. We all know our next guest from these many, many appearances that he's made over the years. But there are a few people in the world that know our next guest as just Dad. And I don't mean just Dad. I mean Dad.
Terry O'Quinn is joining us momentarily. Now, Terry is someone that I've had the pleasure of crossing paths with a small handful of times in the last decade or so. And for me, it was just a no-brainer to share the podcast with him and invite him to come on and talk about his own dadhood experience. Terry, how's it going?
Hi, Adam. That's Adam, I trust.
That's right. It's Adam. Yeah, it's been a while.
Indeed, yeah.
I feel like I want to say, hello, old friend.
Well, you can say that. I'll consider it said.
We've got a little bit of a history. I don't know. Do you remember anything about our first interactions?
I remember the song.
All right. To give the dads listening a quick bit of context, in 2006 or so, I had a band called the Sea Captains. My good friend Tim Collins was writing the music, and one of our early songs was inspired by Lost, which was immensely popular at the time. There were lots of references to John Locke in the song, and we thought that Terry might get a kick out of it, so we mailed it to him in Hawaii, where they filmed, and Terry let us know how much he loved it. And then years later, probably in 2012 or 13, I was in San Diego for Comic-Con. I was doing some filming, and I saw that Terry was also going to be there, so I reached out, and we connected in person and shook hands and had a great conversation. So Terry, it's pretty thrilling that so many years later that you still remember the Sea Captains.
Yes, I do. Yes, I was just talking with Kate about that.
That was a real surprise and a real treat. So thanks for that. That's a really fun memory.
Yeah, and for me too. You're welcome.
Marc Checkett is my co-host here on Modern Dadhood.
Hello, Terry.
Hi, Mark.
Great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
I'm happy to.
Terry, I remember when we met in person that you were telling me a story about several of your brothers. And when Mark was doing research to prep for this conversation, he read that you're actually one of 11.
That's right. My mother had 11 children. The first two were by another man, not my father. And then she had 9 more by my dad. And I was the 7th of the 11. So the 5th of my biological father's children.
Wow. What do you remember about your relationship with your father growing up in a family that was so large?
My father was pretty much an authority figure. He was the one who, primarily we probably remembered him as the one who doled out the punishment, because if you crossed him, you could be in trouble. He had to keep order in the house.
In the early 80s, you had 2 sons.
Yeah, one in 81 and one in 83.
All right, so their ages are very much in line with Mark and myself. You had already been acting for quite a while when you had your boys. Have they always known you as an actor? Yeah,
they have. That's all I've done in the course of their lives. I started acting out of university in 75, 76. That's pretty much all I've done outside of when I first got to New York, the gig running deliveries around Manhattan to try to make a little change. And, but that was about it. It was all just acting.
So was there a lot of travel involved for you, and did that keep you away from home a lot of the time? Well, it
was a bit of both. I traveled quite a bit because they were born in Maryland. I met my wife, now ex-wife, in Maryland. We just set up home there. That became home. Both the boys were born there. So anytime I worked, it wasn't there. I was always gone if I worked. And if I spent half the year working, and this is still true, if I can spend 5 or 6 months working, that's a good year, which means I get to be home more than the average dad. But I'm also, oddly enough, I would be away more than the average dad, extended periods. And occasionally we went to LA. We probably spent I'm trying to think, maybe a year in LA at one point. We went to New York at one point when the kids were small, and we lived in Queens, and we lived in Bronxville but probably for the 18 or 20 years until they had grown up, we probably lived for at least 15 of those years in Maryland, around the city of Baltimore, usually on the outside. So yeah, I was gone quite a bit, and when I was there for extended periods as well. Not a common sort of existence at all, I don't think.
So I would imagine that for many years when they were growing up, people would see you out or see your family out and do a double take because they recognized you from something, from a film or television. How did they react to you being recognized by people?
I don't think they knew any other way for people to deal with me, and it wasn't a terribly common thing. Where we lived, it was almost in the country primarily, and when you live in a certain area, you go to the same grocery store. When you go to the same coffee shop, the same restaurants, people become accustomed to you pretty quickly. And it's not like there were a lot of people rolling through from other cities and stuff. So they were used to it when it did happen. I live now in Virginia Beach, and the people I see here are pretty used to me. And once or twice a day, maybe if I'm out and about, people will say something or make a big deal, but not too much. I don't tend to draw that kind of attention. I certainly don't try to.
Did you see a pretty big shift in the early 2000s when they were college?
Just starting college, maybe?
With the success of Lost season 1?
Yeah. I mean, there was a bit more of that. It probably doubled. But I tried to stay with the normalcy, the normal part of my life as much as I could, and not let any of that other stuff catch me up. And it hasn't really, because I've never lived in LA or New York. And so my sons, I think they just saw it as kind of weird, but just a part of life. And I remember once there was a movie, what was it? The comedy with Luke Wilson.
Old School.
Oh, Old School, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Old School. Yeah, see, that was not a big deal to me, so because I can't remember the name of it. So I didn't tell my sons. I never even mentioned to them that I was in that movie. It wasn't like it was a big secret. It just didn't come up. And they went to see the movie together. They told me this afterwards, and they were looking. And I think the first shot was me, I think, in a reflection in a window or something. And I started talking, and they said, they looked at each other and said, "Is that Dad?
That's fantastic.
Did you know Dad was in this movie? Did he tell you he was in it?" It was like,
with a wonderful mustache in that movie as well.
oh my gosh! Well, yeah, that's very particular. I had that sort of Clark Gable mustache for a few years there. It was kind of weird when I look at the pictures now, but I think that was the same way as in Millennium. I think I had that weird little mustache. But wonderful is a better word for it. So yeah, we'll do that.
I wonder if there's any time that you recall as your kids are growing up that you kind of had to sit down and explain a little bit about what it is that you do, and that your job is maybe a little bit different in some capacity than a lot of other people. Do you recall something like that ever taking place?
I think there might have been elements of, or a bit of that, maybe here and there, but it was more something that they kind of absorbed simply because of what was normal to their lives. The fact that I was home and might be home for a month, or might be home for 6 months, or a whole freaking year, which was, they would know then, because things would get strained. They would sense tension because there would be financial pressures and things like that, and they would understand that. So, I think those kinds of things might have gotten dropped, once or twice, but I never had to really sit down and said, listen, here's what my life is like. And I think they've basically figured it out.
We were talking about Lost just the other day as we were prepping for this, and because we're the same age as your sons, we were thinking about when we were in college or just graduating college, and really how that was. Mark, you were saying, and I think it makes a lot of sense, that Lost was probably the first show that sort of inspired this binge watching idea. Yeah,
almost. And at a time, Adam and I were trying to put ourselves back in that mindset of being in that time period before Netflix, and it was before all of that kind of stuff. And you would still actually have watching parties. I don't know if our listeners out there, I'm sure some of them were part of that, back in the day. X-Files is actually another good example of a show that probably had really religious watch parties where people would get together.
You guys aren't 75 years old. I'm sure there are a lot of people who did that. You guys are talking like that was a dark age.
It's funny. It just feels so far back in the past, but you're right. It's not. I mean, it's really not. I wonder, were your kids, were they going to Lost parties at the time? And if they were, Adam and I started joking. We wondered if maybe they were part of these Lost parties where a lot of the other people were almost kind of keeping one eye on the TV, but one eye on them to see if they would reveal any kind of information. And, what was that time like for them? Do you recall?
I think that both of my sons were pretty chill about it. I think it depends on the family. I'm not unlike my father in that I'm kind of restrained in terms of how much I engage or how excited I might get about something like that. But I mean, and typically for me, if there was something that I was that into that I wanted to watch it, I never saw a party as the best way to do it. I always thought, I'd rather sit in a room by myself and not miss a word or a second. And I think my sons are not are kind of like me and my father in that respect. I don't think they got heavily into it. And I don't even know. I'd have to ask them now and say, like, how much did people talk to you guys about that stuff? Because I'm not really sure, but I don't think they were. I know that they might go and spend some time or go hang out to a party or go to a dinner or with people and leave those people after a night or a day or even a week without those people knowing who I was.
Well, we want to be respectful of your time. I did want to ask, are there any stories about your boys or about you being a father that have always just resonated with you and you always remember and talk about?
Well, there's a story, but it's actually about me, and that's unfortunate. But it's typical of my father, and then of me, and it's also probably true of my son, at least the oldest son, Oliver. Note to self: when you walk into the hospital room, wherein your wife is holding your firstborn infant, and she looks at you and says, "Oh, Tare, don't you just love him?" Don't respond with, "Love him? I don't even know him."
That's fantastic.
That sounds like good advice.
I mean, that's like a Mr. Spock reaction. It's very logical.
It's very logical, and it's good, pure comedy, just maybe in a setting where that comedy isn't welcomed.
Yeah, it was not terribly welcome. It took me a while, and in fact, I never lived it down from her. It never came to an end. I would hear that when things got rough. So that's the curse of the Quinn men.
So, dads, if you want to see what Terry has been up to most recently, check out Perpetual Grace Limited on Epix. Check out Patriot on Amazon. Twitter, it is at OQuinnTerry. You can also find him on Instagram, where there's always entertaining photos being put up with great captions. Is there anywhere else that people can follow what you're up to, Terry?
Nope.
That's it. Well, I want to thank you for, again, always being so kind and so generous. I'm super thrilled to have you on Modern Dadhood, and we hope to see something brand new from you very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Terry.
Well, that was a great conversation.
Yeah, Terry.
What a guy. Very gracious with his time today, that's for sure.
If you're interested in hearing the full conversation with Terry, you can go to moderndadhood.com to learn about where you can find that bonus content.
So having a conversation like that makes me think of how awful it is to talk to toddlers. You ever had a conversation with a toddler?
I have, in fact, and
Yeah.
they can be entertaining, they can be tough, they can be hard to understand.
Yeah, at best. It's definitely a cute thing that happens when you have your own kids and they sort of hit this language explosion, which my boys are going through right now. They're just more and more words finding their way into the lexicon every day, almost every minute of every day. Sometimes they say things and we're like, how do you even know that? How do you even know that? But you know what I thought would be fun today?
Well, it feels like you're leading into a segment.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but I just pulled my computer even closer to me.
I heard that scratch along the table. Buff that out later.
Sorry about the table. I thought it would be a lot of fun for me to play some clips. I've been recording them lately with my phone. I want to play clips of my boys saying what are common words in our household. I'm going to give you multiple choice answers, and I'm going to see if you can tell me if you know what they're saying.
In a segment called
Talking with Toddlers.
All right, far out. Let's go.
Okay, ready? All right, here's the first one. Let me hit a little volume on that, Bad Larry.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat back to you the sound that I'm hearing, because that's gonna help me in my process.
And then I'll give you four multiple choice.
Okay, one
to
more time.
choose from. Ready?
Movas.
You sound just like him.
Movas.
All right. So is he saying A, loofahs, B, school bus, C, toolbox, or D, John Paul Jones was the true genius behind some of Led Zeppelin's best music? Would you like to hear it again?
Yeah, give it to me one more time. I'm going to go with process of elimination to start. I don't think that your boys have any reason to be talking about loofahs.
That's brilliant.
The John Paul Jones one is fantastic. And no offense, I know they're very, very intelligent, but I'm not sure that they're quite at that level yet.
Okay.
I might be wrong. Okay. But I do know that you told me a story recently about throwing a school bus at the dog.
Is that your answer?
I'm going to have to go with B.
Ding, 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 ding,
All
ding,
right,
ding.
yes.
Nice. This is good.
Bus.
Okay, now you're going to hear the other boy in this one. Okay.
The other boy.
The other boy.
It's not like a favorite and then a second favorite.
No, we actually named this one The Other Boy.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how much we love him. Okay, ready?
Give it to me. Geeky.
Let me hit you again with it.
Geeky is nice.
All right, so okay, is he saying A, tricky, B, kitten, C, sticker, or D, aliens was better than alien and you won't change my mind?
I'm going to challenge you on this one because I think that I don't need to hear it again. I'm fairly certain it's B, but I don't think it's kitten. I think, I think that you don't even know this, that he and I are in the same mind space, and he's saying kitty.
I'm sorry, you're wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's saying sticker.
No, he's not.
He is.
Was he holding a sticker book?
Yeah. Big sticker fans at the moment.
Consider my mind blown.
Okay.
Give me another one.
I got another one for you. Okay. Here we go.
Back to first.
Yep. Exactly.
Doggy.
That one's clear as day. I mean, everybody knows that that's doggy, but I'd like to hear the multiple choice anyway because it's
Doggy.
yeah. Doggy.
Okay. Is he saying A, coffee, B, groggy, C, doggy, or D, I apologize if I was being pedantic earlier?
Oh, thank you. This is really brightening my day. This is comedy. Well, you know what? I need to take a step back because I thought it was just crystal clear that he was saying doggy, but I know that you're a big coffee drinker. I know that you love your coffee.
You a damn detective.
And I may switch over to coffee, even though all of me heard him say doggy. I'm going to take a leap of faith and go to A, coffee.
It paid off.
Really?
You're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
You're right.
So was I 2 for 3?
Yeah. All right. Here's the last one.
Baba.
A little background noise in this one, so I apologize, but let's listen to that again.
Baba.
Okay.
I've got a great piece of software that can remove that background noise. Yeah. It's
Really?
called Isotope.
I've not heard of this.
It's amazing.
I'll have to check it out.
Nope, we're going to go for an endorsement here.
I mean, isotope.
No, it's Isotope with a Z.
Isotope.
Mm-hmm.
I love that software. I use it every day.
It really works wonders. Go ahead, one more time.
Okay, one more time, and then I will give you the multiple choice.
Baba.
All right. Is he saying A, button,
Ba.
B, lunchbox, C, putt-putt, or D, it was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee.
So I know little about your boys, but I do know that one of them is an accomplished poet. So on this one, I am inclined to go with D, but truthfully, I have no idea. I don't think it's putt. I don't know. You know what? What might be fun is to open this one up to the listeners.
We're just going to leave it open-ended.
I think so. Maybe
Right?
I'll find out when we stop recording, but I think it would be fun to open it up to the listeners. Dads listening, email us at hey@moderndadhood.com with what you think Mark's son is saying, and he will play it for you again now.
I'm going to give it you one more time.
Baba.
And is it
A, button, B, lunchbox, C, putt-putt, or D, a passage from the poem Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe?
And with that, we are going to wrap up this episode of Modern Dadhood. Dads, you can find us at moderndadhood.com. Find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you would be so kind as to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you do listen, it would be so much appreciated. And that's not just something that we say. Those reviews really do help promote our podcast to other dads who might be interested in listening. But another great way to do that is to
Tell your dad friends about us while Adam sings the word "to" in the background.
Yeah, tell your dad friends. The word of mouth thing is so very important to us. A major thank you to Casper Baby Pants for the wonderful music for the podcast, to Spencer Albee for collaborating on that music, and to Nick Rose, who is our phenomenal intern who helps us out in countless ways.
And thank you for listening.